Hello friend, welcome back to OB Farms. I'm Ken Berry. I'm going to be giving you a sheep update, talking about some problems in the pasture and the seed bank and also poop. So here's the flock. They have full bellies. They're laying down to ruminate, take a nap, rest, and they seem to be all doing well. I've got a couple of ewes with dirty butts, but overall they seem to be very healthy. Looking at the left side of their rumen, they seem like they're well fed and happy. All the younger ones are jumping around and frolicking. I think that's a sign of being healthy and well fed as well. So let's talk about the pasture. So this pasture they're currently on was horse pasture for about 25 years. And you can see that there's very little soil. There's a little bit of refuse on top of the soil, but not much at all. I would say this soil is probably an inch thick max. Horses are notorious for really grazing down to the ground. This guy did not rotate his horses. They were just in here all the time. So they ate all their favorite things down to the ground. And there's no clover whatsoever in this field. And I've been using this field now for over a year. And I'm not seeing any clover come back from the seed bank. I think that's a sign that there are some mineral deficiencies and probably some problems with acidity as well. There's lots of broom sage in here. That's also a red flag that you've got some nutrient problems with the soil. I think there's also not nearly enough fungal and bacterial species in the soil, and that's a problem. But I'm hoping that the animal impact on this soil will bring it around eventually, and I'm going to be doing a few things because I'm also impatient. I've got ADHD, y'all. I can't wait 10 years for the soil to heal and repair itself, so I'm probably going to be doing some inputs, and I'll document those as we go. Just glancing at this pasture, you're like, oh yeah, it's green. There's green stuff growing there, but if you look closer, it's predominantly sage grass, and the sheep will nibble at it, but they don't really love it. I don't think it's very nutrient dense. That's a good stand of sage grass, and I know that speaks to a soil fertility and acidity issue, and so we're going to try to be working on that. And I have noticed that in the valleys, the declivities, there's typically much better grass, and I'm guessing that's because the soil from the upper hillsides have washed off into these little valleys, and they typically have pretty decent grass. So the acidity has to be different in the nutrition, and soil depth has to be different in these valleys. They may be more a better climate for the bacteria and fungus to live. I'm not sure. This is silvo pasture. There are trees scattered, some too closely grouped, some just right. And we're going to be working on that as well as time goes on. The guy that I'm leasing this pasture from loves to bush hog. And like I said, this was horse pasture, but he also bush hogged it every 10 minutes. He wanted his entire property to look like a golf course. And so when he would come to a cedar tree, he would just bush hog it, which would scatter seeds everywhere. And now there are baby cedar trees. There's probably 50 around this one tulip poplar tree, and so each time I put them in a new paddock here, I'm going through and I'm cutting all these things at the ground and piling them up because I know they affect soil fertility and acidity. So I'm trying to get rid of those to encourage more grass growth under the trees. What do you guys think? Should I sow, after I cut these, should I sow some orchard grass or some shade-loving species under these trees, or should I wait for the seed bank to see what comes back? I can't decide. I'm in a hurry, but I also want to do this the right way, so I'd appreciate any feedback. One thing that I've noticed is that the sheep poop doesn't really go away, and I think this probably speaks to the lack of bacteria and fungus in the soil that's able to utilize this. This is from probably 10 days ago, but even in some paddocks where they haven't been for 30 days, I've still got sheep poop laying around. Now, one solution I've considered for this is to buy some dung beetles, tumblebugs. I actually found a company where you can buy dung beetles, And I'm thinking about buying some in the spring and putting them back on this pasture and on my property, because they'll take this and they'll dig a hole and bury it, which not only aerates the soil, but also puts that nutrition down under the ground where the roots can get to it. And I'm kind of perplexed by the poop not degrading and being eaten and going away. I think that's from just lack of soil life, but I'm not sure. If you know anything about this, please tell me in the comments. I'm still using 2-strand Polybraid with a solar energizer down at the bottom of the hill there. Anytime I get too far away from my farm, I have to use the solar. It seems to be working well. We haven't lost a single animal to predation, knock on wood. I'm still busy using the app on my phone that tells me what every species of grass, forb, legume, and tree is. I'm trying to learn every single species of plant on this farm, because I know that some are considered weeds, but when it comes to feeding sheep, the sheep love them. One thing I found is that when I cut down a big tulip poplar like this guy to open up the silvopasture so there's more sunlight, you see there's too much shade right there, the sheep love those leaves. And then also, I'm not actually killing the tulip poplar. A month from then, 2 months from then, I'll have 10 shoots coming up with very tender tulip poplar leaves, and the sheep absolutely love those. So I'm clearing out a lot. I'm saving some tulip poplars because also honeybees love tulip poplar blooms, and so I'm not going to get rid of all of them for sure. I want to have a very diverse tree population, but also try to maximize for white oaks and hickories and persimmons and wild cherries and things that drop stuff that the sheep and then maybe in the future cattle and pigs will eat. If you'll look in the background behind the sheep, you'll see a beautiful, very large white oak that got snapped during a recent windstorm. It seems like white oaks were the only thing affected by this storm. Me and my neighbor here lost 5 or 6 big, beautiful white oaks. I thought they were more resilient trees than that. So that's the update today. If you see anything I'm doing that's just egregiously stupid, please tell me in the comments what you see that I should be doing differently, or any other recommendations that you have. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up. And if you want to share this with somebody who's thinking about getting into sheep and regenerative ranching, I would appreciate it. This is Ken Berry. See you next time.